Drinking with Authors may contain adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh, hello, everyone, and welcome. I can't even say the word hello anymore. And welcome to another edition of Drinking with Authors. I am your host, author Nick Savage. And this episode every episode is brought to you by Four Horsemen Publications. So check them out at their websites. Otherwise, I talk to myself if we don't, check them out. But joining us this evening is Chris DT Gordon, mental health champion. And he's going to tell us all about what that entails, what his book's about, and what led him to becoming a mental health champion. So, Chris, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for the opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. And I have to tell you, as we were talking about backstage, I was considering bringing a beer onto camera. And then I was thinking, this is an author-based program. Why do I reference my absolute favorite series at this time, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and drink a Dirty Shirley?
A Dirty Shirley. Okay. I know what makes alcohol dirty, and I know what a Shirley Temple is. You cannot be drinking a cherry 7-Up with olive juice.
Well, that is one way of making it. It's basically a Shirley Temple of vodka in it.
Oh, with vodka. Okay. That's not bad.
No, yeah. But I also have to pick up my kids as we're recording this in about an hour, and then I have to coach soccer later on. And I like to try to be responsible with some things. So instead, I'm drinking a chocolate protein shake.
Nice.
With maraschino cherries.
Okay, that actually sounds pretty delicious.
So I'm going to put some in here. Of course, I forgot my fork before we started recording. So that's the dirty part. My fingers are the dirty part of the
fingers are the dirty part.
Yeah.
Is there any specific brand of protein you use when making protein shakes?
There is a brand I've been using lately. It's called No Bull. And it's interesting because the previous brand was called TB12, named after Tom Brady. And I just happened to find this brand online. And I was looking at it and thinking, okay, well, Tom Brady is behind it. I mean, we're both Michigan alumni. I could help out a fellow Wolverine. I know he's struggling with the money.
Yeah, as all star quarterbacks do.
Yeah, he's always scratching for cash. So I've tried his brand for a few months, and I decided, hey, this is good and the price is right. And then they switched to Noble, which is the same company, but it's plant protein. And as a runner and someone who strength trains every day, I need that to rebuild my old body. And so it's pretty good stuff. But I decided to add some ice cream to it. I got some dark chocolate ice cream, and I mixed in some Reese's peanut butter cup ice cream. So it's quite the concoction I have today.
And when you mix in ice cream, it becomes ultra healthy, which I love.
Yes, because it has milk in it. So there you go.
That's the thing, is people give food this it's either good food or bad food, and there's no good or bad food. It's, all in the quantity you eat. So if you're tossing in a little bit of ice cream into a shake, into a protein shake just for some added flavor, you're not ruining the shake by any means. So I think that's wonderful. No.
I mean, I'm happy that I worked out this morning and ran 4.5 miles. So, I do have some energy to rebuild upon. I have to replenish my carbs that way. And it's, food is a drug.
Yeah.
Food is a drug. It's how you use it that matters.
No.
And so all you could overdose on, you can have too much protein. You can have too much, you can have too much water.
Yes, you can.
What's it called? Hyponapia, or there's some kind of condition where you can literally drink water to death.
Yes.
And so it's all about moderation, my friend.
Yeah, no, a lady actually died a few months back, and I say a few, anywhere from 3 to a year. It was hot. She was on vacation, drank a bunch of water to rehydrate, and drank too much and drowned. And you can, like a salt, which is good for you. And everyone's like, oh, salt's bad because of the whole like anti-salt campaign, back in the 90s and 80s. But we need to live. Your muscles function on salt. But table shaker of salt will kill you.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the poison is in the dose.
Yeah, and also there's that long time ago when the Nintendo Wii was coming out, there was a radio station, I believe it was a radio station, had this contest. Basically, it's called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. And this lady ended up dying because she withheld her, from going to the bathroom for so long, and she had so much water in her body that she basically died because of too much water in her system.
Yeah. So no, enjoy the Reese's mixed in with your, protein shake by all means.
Yes.
And
go to the bathroom, please.
Yeah, please don't ever die.
No video game's worth that.
Yeah, no. Not even a Steam Deck. And that's a joke for people who know what a Steam Deck is and how much they cost. It's very niche joke. So you went through something that kind of put you on your path. And it's not a fun story, but it is an inspiring story.
Thank you.
And when I say it's not a fun story, it's definitely not something that you wish anyone to live through. But had you not, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Exactly.
Can you tell me and tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Certainly. Well, yeah, speaking of death, don't scratch your hand on your garage wall. That should be your clincher of a message, your one-liner for this episode. But seriously, that's how this all started. In March of 2015, my wife and I had three little kids. Josh at the time was 6, and we had 2 twins, boy and a girl. Seth and Anna were 2 at the time. And my wife, Becky, is a teacher here in the local school district. I actually teach online. So I work at home. And at this time in the story, I have been as well. Well, I would help her get the kids into the van in our detached garage so she could take them to daycare and to school before she headed up to the high school. Well, I picked up one of the twins and was flying them back and forth to our detached garage when I veered too far to the right. And I scraped the back of my right hand on our garage wall. Now, Nick, when's the last time you scratched your hand?
Actually, about 8 months ago, I had to get a TV shot because I was remodeling a bathroom and scratched on a rusty nail. But before that, it had been decades. Like you just
really?
You scratch it every day. You do.
Yeah.
You kind of rub against things every day. But to put in your mind like, oh, I scratched my hand because I bump and bruise all the time, but to cut yourself on something like I scratched a rusty nail. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think about that. But to like scratch your hand, I have a open wound on my hand and I don't even know what the hell it's from. You know what I'm saying? So if we're talking about last time I scratched my hand, I don't know. A couple days ago, and I have this wound on my hand, and you don't think about it.
Exactly. It happens all the time. And so I'm looking at this scratch. It's not bleeding. And of course, I am a Gen X kid. I immediately go to quote it. It's but a scratch.
Yeah, just quote some Monty Python there.
Exactly. So I take the kid, I put them into the car, kiss them all goodbye. Then Becky takes them on their way, and I go back to the house to wash off my non-bleeding wound and start my day of online teaching. 3 days later, I wake up to a lacrosse ball-sized bump on my right elbow. I go to the urgent care clinic because I usually don't wake up like that. The doctor says, well, it could be bursitis, which is a burst in the bursa sac in your joints.
Yeah.
Or inflammation in the bursa sac. So just keep an eye on it. And that actually tracks because the night before we had gone bowling with her school district. They have a bowling event every year. And we had gone bowling and I must have twisted something wrong and figured, okay, that's what it was. Well, I did what the doctor ordered. I kept an eye on it. And I kept an eye on that bump, Nick, as that bump grew and grew and grew until my right arm was 3 times the size of my left.
Oh.
I call myself the Incredible Hulk in mid-transformation. And in my book, I actually share a picture that shows the disparity of size between the two appendages. Well, Becky finds a baby. She takes me to the emergency room. They admit me, and they keep me overnight for observation. The next morning, in fact, the attending doctor walks up to my gurney and says something I will never forget, Nick. She said, "Mr. Gordon, this is beyond us. We can do nothing more for you here. Where do you want to go?" And I would like to say for dramedy that I sat on that question for hours. But I'm in Minnesota, and there's a pretty popular hospital here in Minnesota called the Mayo Clinic.
Oh, yes.
Also resides in the same town where my in-laws live. So I was right quick with the answer. I said, send me to Mayo, which is literally 2 hours down the road from from New Ulm, where I live. It's all in Minnesota.
It's all in Minnesota. Yeah. No,
Yep. They fly me to Rochester. They quickly get me into the hospital, and it's there where they diagnose me with necrotizing fasciitis, also known as flesh-eating bacteria. Have you ever heard of that?
Have I? Oh, yes. But I also have a lot of family in medicine and stuff like that. And around Florida, necrotizing fasciitis actually infects the beaches during certain times of the year. So you have to be very careful of that and stuff.
Yes.
I have a question about your arm, because necrotizing fasciitis is fatal most of the time. And when you're
25 to 30%.
That's a decent, you know what I'm saying? That's
okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good chunk. I mean, that's 1 out of 4, almost 1 out of 3 people. So yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's when they say, because people hear 25 to 30% of the time, that doesn't mean that if 100 people have it, all of them might survive. That literally means of 100 people, 25 or 30 of them will die from it. There is no surviving of the 100 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, of the 100 people, all 100 survive, because statistics don't work like people want them to think they do. How were you not septic when your arm was that big?
That's something I left out. They did diagnose me as being septic in the emergency room in New Ulm. They had noticed my blood pressure was wonky and they were getting a bad read, and I had gone septic. So I was still dealing with that. So giant right arm, septic, and being bald is a deadly combination.
Being bald, I'm not sure bald has anything to do with that, but yeah.
Well, the shine was glaring. I was blinding all the nurses.
Yeah.
So at any rate, so once they know what's going on with me, they get me quickly into surgery, and they put me under for what turns out to be 5 days. And in that 5-day time, that 5-day span, they first remove it's called debridement. They remove all the infected skin and tissue from my arm, shoulder, chest, and back. And once they clear that out, doctors noted that the infection had gotten so far into my right arm that they said they were going to amputate. It was not a question. It was a certainty to them. They even told Becky, we are going to take his right arm. Nick, what am I holding up?
I'm assuming that is your right arm, or the best prosthetic I've ever seen in my life.
Yes to the first one. That'd be awesome if the second one were true. It is my right arm. And they saved it because they elected to extract a 15-inch by 4-inch flap of skin and tissue from my left thigh and place it in my right hand and forearm. And since this is my thigh and my hand, I lovingly call this my thand.
Because that has a quadricep muscle, if I recall your website properly.
Close. It has a part of the quad, like skin from the quadricep, but the quadricep muscle, actually, they had to remove because when they took out the flap, the wound was so large they couldn't close it normally. So they installed what's called a Jacob's ladder. On the inside of the wound, they put like a shoestring type contraption on the inside. On the outside, they installed knobs on opposite sides of my wound, and they would tighten the wound over time to close it.
But you're missing a quadricep muscle, like the entire muscle or part of it?
The vastus lateralis. It has vacated the building. Yes. My quad was transformed into a tri.
Okay. So there's so many just wows about this because you run 4.5 miles while you're missing one of the four muscles that make up the quadricep.
Yes.
You don't seem to be in pain, like any long-term pain, or at least none that you're showing.
Well, I've gotten very good over these past 11 years with handling the pain. Something that I hadn't gotten to yet, but I'm going to mention it now, is to cover up the exposed areas of my upper right side here. Is doctors had to take skin graft harvestings. They harvest the skin graft samples from my legs and my back, and they placed them on my exposed areas here. Skin grafts they're non-porous. They have no pores. So I don't sweat, which means two things. First of all, that it is cooking inside here. It is extremely warm. And I'm just sitting here. When I'm running double digit miles or running marathons, it gets absolutely just illuminate. I mean, it just radiates heat.
Yeah.
The second thing is that since my armpit doesn't sweat, I haven't had to use deodorant on this arm in 11 years.
Just that arm.
Just this arm.
Just that arm.
Once in a while, I will forget, and I'll go over here and bring it up. What am I doing?
Oh, because you were doing it for decades before.
Silly rabbit. Yeah. So I only have to use deodorant on one arm.
And I want you to know something. I want to run because my cardio is trash, absolute trash. And my wife runs, and I want to run. We have a treadmill, and we're in Florida, and it's hot, and I'm not running outside. But I try and run, and to me, I'm like, half a mile is a good run.
Okay.
And I feel like I can't do that anymore because you have shown everyone that you don't even need all your muscles to run multiple miles. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, dude, just do it. So I feel
I'm just taking away your excuse is all I have done.
Yeah, no, totally taking away my excuse.
But I don't shame anyone's game. If you run a block, that's fine. If you run 10 steps, if that's all you can do, that's fantastic to me because it's all about getting out there and doing your best.
Well, I could talk about this all day. You know what I'm saying? But we have a book I want to talk about. You have a book. We didn't write the book. You wrote the book. You have a book I want to talk about. Tell us about that because I see in the background for anyone watching, he's got the tag logo on the wall and he's wearing it as well. And that is the attitude.
Gratitude.
Yep.
Yeah. So a couple years after my journey, I started playing around with the idea that I need to put myself out there. I can't keep this to myself. And I had done some speaking engagements for a friend's school. They worked for a small Christian K-8 school, and I came in and spoke for $50. And I had another friend who was a health teacher, actually at my wife's high school. And I went in there and I did a presentation for them and showed them the skin grafts and everything. And they were more interested on the medical side, but they still found my story interesting and inspiring. And I decided, okay, I have to do this. I have to become a professional speaker.
Yeah.
So I did, ironically, in 2020. My first event was February 25th, 2020. I procured some space at my church, which is a block and a half from my house, so I didn't have to drive very far. It went really well, and I was thinking, hey, this is great. 3 weeks later, sorry, folks, the world's closed. The moose out front should have told you.
Yeah.
So I had to adjust. I had to go to virtual speaking. As a virtual teacher, it was a great fit because that's all I do is talk with people over the computer. But eventually I got thinking, you know what? I need to put this in book form. I need to get this out there because while I might get on a stage and speak for 45 minutes to an hour, people forget things. And I can't remember exactly what the percentage is, but if you tell someone something, there's 5% of them remembering it if you just tell them once. And so I want to give the world something that they can use as a tool, not only for inspiration, but for practice. And so in October of 2023, I published From Survivor to Striver, How Gratitude Can Transform You into a Superhero. And this includes my story of survival from NF, many different gratitude strategies and practices I've developed. I have some anecdotes from when I was younger, and I even include a chapter about not only me earning my first degree black belt after my hospitalization, but also the first marathon I ran after my hospitalization in hopes of qualifying for Boston. And I really do love this because it's a way for me to give back. It's a way for me to actually honor my mom, who had passed away a number of years before I got sick. And she was an aspiring author. And actually she was an elementary librarian. So this is a bit of an honor for her. And just a way for me to let people know that just because you survive from flesh-eating bacteria, that does not mean that's going to be the pinnacle of your life. Surviving is great. But also surviving should be the bare minimum. It should be the base of the mountain. From there, you climb up. You strive for greater.
It's actually a very good way to think about it to approach things, because instances, accidents, whatever you want to call it, can cause depression or make someone very depressed. And it doesn't always manifest in that kind of basket case, you know what I'm saying? Like way that we see in movies and television where they're just sitting around all droll and, oh, I'm depressed. Depression manifests differently. And people don't always recognize the symptoms when they see it, because they're so used to only what they see portrayed, in books, movies, and whatnot. So how did you, because I am making an assumption that while you were recovering and you had the knobs on you and they were and you were healing, you weren't this. You weren't happy like you are now. And I'm not asking you to share the darkest times of, what I'm saying, your depression, but how were you able to transform, for people in that spot, how are you able to move past that into, like, was there an aha moment, or was it gradual steps?
That's a fantastic question, Nick. And yes, there was one specific moment that I mention over and over again. The first couple days after waking up from that coma, I was in a state of hopelessness. Because I was wondering, what am I going to do with my life? I call this my personal bacteria. Yes, my body was rid of all the flesh-eating bacteria, the physical bacteria, but that personal bacteria started to seep into my mind with questions like, what was I going to do with my life? How was I going to relate to Becky, to the kids, to my colleagues, my friends, my students, absolute strangers? How was this going to affect our finances? What was my reaction going to be the next time I scratched my hand? And a week before I had been admitted to the hospital, I had run a Pi Day race. Remember, this is in March when this happened.
Yeah.
March 14th is Pi Day for all you math nerds or non-math nerds, because the math nerds already know it. I ran a Pi Day a Pi Day race, which is 3.14 miles in 1929, which is like low 6-minute mile pace, which is a pretty decent pace for a 40-year-old guy.
It's way faster than mine. Way faster than my pace.
Well, thanks. So to go from being able to run at that speed to surviving, to being told that your next goal should be to feed yourself with your right arm, is demoralizing. And that's what they actually told me. They told me once the cast was removed that my goal should be to feed myself with my right arm. It was leaving me with this abyss of, I'm trying to think of the right word. It has escaped me. Just of uncertainty.
Sure.
And I'm fine with some things being uncertain. But when you're thinking about, if you're uncertain about how you're going to live,
yeah,
and you have no answers at all, that is draining emotionally, physically. And so I was lying in my bed, my hospital bed. Becky comes in to my room, sits down next to me, and she starts telling me about all the great things people were doing for us in this situation. Our neighbors were snow blowing our driveway and shoveling our walkways. Remember, this was in late March, early April, but for Minnesotans, spring is basically winter round 2. The local law enforcement were driving by our house to keep an eye on things, because the phrase flesh-eating bacteria spreads just as quickly as the bacteria itself. Everyone knew our situation. We had people in the Rochester area stopping by Becky's parents' house for the first couple of weeks, because Becky and the kids stayed there to keep an eye on, to keep updated on my situation. People were bringing toys and food and playing with the kids. My brother flew in from Michigan, and now, since I mentioned Michigan, I have to tell you where he flew in from. Incidentally, I grew up here, just north of Detroit.
For anyone listening, he's using his hand as the Michigan map, as all Michigan.
Yes, to prove I'm a Michigander. This is how we let you know where we're from. So he flew in from Grand Rapids to Minneapolis, St. Paul, then took a shuttle down to Rochester, and then stayed the next week and a half, sometimes staying overnight in the hospital to get the latest updates on my condition.
Yeah.
He also bought me an iPad so I can stay entertained while I recovered in the hospital. a classmate from Becky's graduating class in high school started a GoFundMe account, which raised enough money to offset my lost wages from teaching because I ran out of sick days really quickly.
Yeah.
So she's telling me all these different things that people are doing for us. And it's like a light switch was flipped. I almost felt that personal bacterial wash away. And I was left with what I now call the attitude of gratitude. And the attitude of gratitude is comprised of 3 more questions, but these questions I could answer. And that is the bedrock of my message, of my, if we were to use an anime term, my second form. This is, my rebirth, if you will.
Yeah.
And so if you don't mind, I'd like to go into those 3 questions.
Please.
All right. So the first question I asked myself, Nick, was what good things did I have in my life? Now, when I ask you that question, what comes to mind for you?
Oh God, so many things. I consider myself very lucky though. From my family and friends and wife and animals to the house I live in, you know what I'm saying? I have many things that many things.
Yeah. I mean, we find that the more we look, the more we find things around us. And I did the same. I was thinking about my wife, my job, my other family members, our community, and all those things are great. But I started thinking, well, what if we get a little more granular with it? What if we start looking at things that are sometimes overlooked, or most times overlooked? And so I started thinking about, well, my brother bought me this iPad, and one of the first things I downloaded on that iPad was Netflix. And the first show I watched was the first season of Daredevil.
Ooh,
now, I'm
show.
not sure if you're a comic book fan, or if you like the MCU at all, Nick.
Oh, I've seen the first season. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's right up there with some of the best, comic book related or even television, show series of all time. That first season of Daredevil is top notch.
Oh yeah.
I binged watched that relentlessly because there are times when I had nothing to do but sit and wait for the next surgery.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even eat food. The nurses let me get away with chewing on ice chips. But I binged that show over and over again. And then there was the fact that in my hospital room, the exterior window was set in a way where even at in the middle of the day, the sun wouldn't shine directly into my eyes. I know that sounds really weird, but when you are sequestered or confined to one spot and you're relying on other people for every single thing, not having to ask them to do one more thing is actually a blessing.
Yeah.
Then there's the hospital pizza. Nick, do you have a relationship with hospital food?
It's been a number of decades, but I was actually in a hospital for a number of weeks from a bad accident when I was much younger. So yeah, hospital food sucks.
By and large, that is the consensus. But if you ever go to the Mayo Clinic, order the personal pepperoni pizza. It is fantastic.
Well, that is something I will keep in mind.
I remember it to this day as being just one of the best pieces of pizza I've ever eaten. Maybe it was because I hadn't had pizza in a while when I finally had it.
Yeah.
But still, I am very grateful for that pizza. And today I do this all the time. If you look around on your keyboard, and if you are thankful for all the individual keys on your keyboard, you have over 60 things to be thankful for right there within a 2 square foot area.
Except
You
for my
look at
A
your
and my W.
Yeah, you look at the home keys.
Yeah.
How often do we use those? All the time. That space bar is one of the most used keys. Imagine trying to type a letter without a space bar.
Yeah, no, definitely. My A and
Yeah.
my W keys stick on me sometimes, so I'm trying to figure out how to fix them, but I definitely appreciate the other keys more because of those 2 keys that stick.
Yeah, and when you get those fixed again, you're gonna feel even more appreciation for them.
Yes.
So
Okay, yeah.
I am very granular when it comes to gratitude. I always try to think about what around me can I be thankful for at this exact moment, even if I don't own it. I'll go some places like tomorrow, as we're recording this, I'm taking my son and one of his friends up to a soccer tournament. I'm helping coach, and we're going to Duluth, and I'm going to be walking around Duluth. I'm going to be thankful for all the different things I see, all the different people I meet, even though I may never see them again, or I might see something in the store. I won't buy it unless it's really, really cool and really, inexpensive. But I can still appreciate that thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the more appreciation we put into something, the more value it has. And the more value something has, the richer you are, no matter what your bank account says.
Yeah.
And so that was the first question I asked myself. What are things in my life I could be thankful for? The second question I asked myself was, who in my life can I acknowledge in appreciation? And again, when I ask myself, who am I thankful for in my life? Family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, all the big groups pop into mind. Well, for me, in particular, one of the nurses left an indelible mark on me. She was really bad at poking needles. I'm just kidding. Actually, they were very good. It's Mayo Clinic, top notch. Anyway, when you are in the hospital for a long time, they often put a poster up called the Getting to Know You poster. And they have questions to, spoiler alert, get to know you.
Yeah.
One of the questions was favorite movie. Now, Nick, you notice the cover of my book has a huge superhero Easter egg for Superman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Behind me, I have a 4-foot stormtrooper. Above me, I have a picture of the Ninja Turtles. You can't see them, but my left side wall is covered with Transformers. All kinds of Autobots and Decepticons. I bet you can guess what my favorite movie is.
I would that's so many different superheroes, but I would have to say if you're going to use a Superman Easter egg on the cover, that Superman's going to be your favorite, but I'm probably wrong.
You're close. Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. So close.
Yeah,
so close.
Right there.
Right there.
They're almost carbon copies of each other. So I told them, right, Blazing Saddles on there. Well, one Monday morning, the head nurse, Chris, comes running into my room practically. She almost knocks over my IV stand. And she said, Chris, I was at a garage sale this weekend. I saw this. I thought of you. Here it is. She bought me a DVD copy of Blazing Saddles.
Very nice. Yeah.
I am a part of her job. I am an item on her to-do list, and her to-do list is very long.
Yeah.
For her not only to recognize my favorite movie, but also buy it with her own money and give it to me, makes that DVD copy one of my prized possessions. And I already own the movie on DVD, but I still have that one in a renowned place in my office because of the love and care and compassion which that was given. And so I greatly appreciate her because she and the other nurses made my stay more comfortable, even though I was at times a pain in the butt and everywhere else. But I love and appreciate her for that thoughtfulness. Yeah, I mean, it meant so much to me. And so I do that as much as I can. I try to let people know how much I appreciate them, whether we're at the store, whether we're at the restaurant. I always try to learn our server's name and try to use it often. Probably creeps some of them out, especially the younger people. You know, they're not used to their name being used so often, but I like doing it because I like seeing them, not just seeing someone giving me food. And if you wouldn't mind, Nick, I have a short practice I'd like to impart to your viewers and audience. It's called the AAA, and it stands for actively augmenting your appreciation of someone. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about someone that you're connected to socially.
Okay.
It could be your wife, your husband, or a family member, or a colleague, someone. And I want you to temporarily remove yourself from that connection. So you see them by themselves. And the reason why we're doing that is we want to look and see. The second step is I want you to look and observe and note how this world affects their world, how they benefit other people. And the reason why I remove that connection is because when we look at someone and how they benefit us, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's also somewhat selfish, and not in a negative selfish, but it literally is, you're focusing on how they affect yourself.
Yeah.
But when you look at how someone benefits the world at large, benefits other people, you really see what a gift this person is to others. And so I look at, for example, I use as my wife. Yes, Becky is my wife, my partner, my best friend. But apart from our relationship, she is a wonderful mother, a loving daughter and sister, a brilliant teacher, a great athlete, a well-read historian. And yes, she is as big of a geek as I am. She just plays it closer to the vest. She is a gem and a hero to the community at large. Now, I put her back in that social circle that we share. That's the third step, bring them back. And yes, she's still all of those things. But on top of all those things, she's my wife, my partner, my best friend.
Yeah.
I am extremely blessed to have this person in my life. And I continually refer to her as my hero because without her, we would not be talking right now.
Yeah. No.
So what I want you to do is I want you to think of someone in your life. Think about all the ways they affect the world around them, not necessarily around you. And then let them know how much you appreciate what they do for others in the greater world.
Yeah.
And so that's called the AAA. And what's beautiful about that is, yes, it might make you appreciate those you love and like more, but it might help you develop more respect for people you may not know very well, or you may not get along with very well. I do this sometimes when I think about someone who I'm not really good friends with, or we just don't have a lot in common, or maybe we've had a clash. But I take a step back and I look, okay, maybe this person and I don't get along very well, but that doesn't mean that they don't get along with everyone in this way. And so by looking at how they benefit other people, I can say, you know what? Maybe we can't find common ground here, but maybe in time we can develop a stronger relationship through this avenue.
No, that makes sense. One of my favorite words in the English language is the word sonder, which is the realization that everyone around you has lives that are as full and enriched as yours in their own way, and they're not just NPCs, walking around a video game. And it's a shift in perspective to see someone who might be having, looking like they're angry or looking like they're just a grumpy person, and realizing that there's a reason at that moment, to have them act that way, or to why they're not getting along with you versus why they get along with other people, and to be okay with it, and to be the fact that it is just a shift in perspective to be able to do those things. So that's a very healthy attitude to have.
I greatly appreciate the fact that you brought up the NPC analogy, because it's very easy to think about other people as being static when we're not actively talking with them or interacting with them. Like they just freeze when we walk around the corner. They have their own lives. They have everything. They have a lot going on. Everyone has a lot going on, and we should never forget that.
No, and it's funny because I think that, like, I don't forget that, but I think people's default is to almost default to that, because my wife used to make fun of me and be like, yeah, when you're not around, I'm just sitting around twirling my thumbs waiting for you, and I'm like, I know that's not true, but it's hard to envision everything other people are doing. So you just assume some static state, some default state of not doing much, even though they're doing so many productive things of their own accord,
Yes.
So it's something to keep in mind as the world happens around you.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. There was a third question that you had to talk about, but I know that you have to pick up kids at some point. Do we have time to address the third question?
We do quickly. Yes. Thank you for the segue back into the questions. So the third question was, how can I give someone else a reason to be grateful? And in the hospital, my job was to recover. That was it. Get better. But once I was able to, once I was discharged, I was able to take action. I started running again. And as I would run, I would pick up garbage on the sidewalk or on the road or in someone's yard, as long as I wasn't getting too trespassy. Some people don't like that. When my neighbor's lawn would get too long, or maybe they were gone and snow came overnight and their driveway is covered, I go over and shovel their driveway or their walkway. And there's the classic opening and holding a door for someone, which I think is criminally overlooked, because we just think of it as, oh, you're just holding a door. That's basically it. But you are literally freezing your life for a number of seconds so someone can get on with theirs.
Yeah.
And you never know, someone could be dealing with some serious stuff, and you that simple act could mean a lot more to them than you think.
Yeah.
And so, I started, trying to think of ways I could give back. And, one way has been speaking and writing my book. And yes, I like to get paid for my book, and I like to get paid to speak, because I also like to eat food and sleep indoors.
Yeah.
But I know that there are people who could gain a lot from my perspective, from my message. And for me to keep it to myself because I'm either too shy or, I don't feel comfortable on stage giving it, it's a disservice not only to myself as being a contributing member of society, I also see it as a slap in the face to all those people who stepped up to help me and my family get through this situation. I owe it to them to put myself out there to help others because they helped me.
And that's a very kind of reciprocal way to look at things, and not in a reciprocal in a bad way, much like the example earlier of selfish wasn't meant to be in a negative tone either, but it's a nice way to reciprocate the good that people have done for you.
Yes, and that's why actually my logo, the tag logo here, is in a circle shape because it's circular. It goes around. What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And so I want people to know that gratitude, yes, can be individual, but it should also be a collective. It should also be communal. It should be universal, because one person feeling gratitude is nice, but if we all act with this feeling of appreciating things around us, appreciating people around us, helping others feel that same appreciation, it spreads like the bacteria, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And I want positive bacteria to spread all over.
Positive bacteria to spread. That is a very interesting, albeit kind of scary sentiment if you don't know, if you're just tuning in and don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Hi, want some positive bacteria?
Positive bacteria. It's like probiotics.
Yeah.
But the idea of spreading positivity and gratitude is definitely one that I think the world could use a little more of, especially nowadays. And with that, I'm going to end it so your kids aren't wondering where you're at going to pick them up. But I want to thank you. Oh, wait, before we leave, shoot. Give me your shameless self-promotion. Everyone's been listening, and now they need to go buy your book and follow you on social media. Where can we do that?
Well, thank you very much for remembering, Nick. So you can go to chrisdtgordon.com. It's spelled just like my name, but take out the spaces and put a .com after it. That's my website. You can reach out to me there, especially if you are a teacher at a school, you're an administrator at a school, or even at a business. I'm looking into starting to create a leadership message for business leaders, for corporate leaders, to help them be the hero that those they lead need them to be. So chrisdtgordon.com. You can reach out to me for, speaking engagements, just to say hi. There's also a link to find the book, From Survivor to Striver. You can find that on chrisdtgordon.com. You can also find me at chrisdtgordon.com on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's Chris DT Gordon author. And just Google Chris DT Gordon, you'll find me. I added the DT in there because there are more than a few Chris Gordons out there, but the DT makes the difference.
Makes the difference. The DT does.
That's your tagline there. The DT makes the difference.
The DT makes the difference. No, thank you so much. Everyone listening, go pick up his book, spread some positivity, make yourself a happier person. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. For everyone listening, remember, it costs nothing to be kind. And until next time, I will see you all there. Be good.
Thank you for listening to Drinking with Authors. Join us next time for another fun conversation with an author over drinks.